Okay, Sonali, today, now 72 hours later, where are we here? What kind of losses are we looking at?
So state of play, you look at Morgan Stanley on one hand, Morgan Stanley really recovering a lot of its losses we saw yesterday, Goldman jumping back well above what it lost yesterday in the stock market. Credit Suisse, Nomura, MUFJ, like you said, there could be anywhere from hundreds of millions of dollars worth of losses to billions of dollars worth of losses. So the questions begin. What were they offering Archegos? What price were they offering it at? Were they well collateralized enough? And where then, if we push the story forward, do they fall in the land of prime brokerage moving forward? There's one distinction I want to make. This was not all prime brokerage financing. A lot of this was done through swaps, which is a much more esoteric market. It's harder to really understand what the full leverage picture looks like for Archegos in that kind of situation, and how spread was that among banks? Did the banks know what the other positions were at the subsequent banks, at the rival banks?
In terms of where this is going to take us from a regulatory point of view, Sonali, I'm hearing more and more talk of the fact that the swaps market needs to be given some greater oversight. The fact that a lot of this leverage was invisible needs to be sorted out. How does that happen and who's responsible?
Yeah, it's interesting because even when I spoke to prime brokerage executives over the last 24 hours, even they say they would like to see some tighter regulations, more disclosure really in this arena. They're skeptical, Guy. Why? Because they think it's such a big tug of war between the SEC and the CFTC that will this really get done at the end of the day? There's also international regulators at play here, especially when it comes to the big global banks, the Japanese banks, the Swiss banks, right, that are big players in this arena. At the end of the day, we'll see whether it gets done. Gary Gensler, as we know, was in charge of the CFTC, and now he'll be heading the SEC, so there's a better chance now than ever.